So, hello. Today we have Gil Horsky, and he's a part of the funding team for Snack Futures. It's the venture and innovation hub for Mandelis International. He and his team in Snack Futures are on a mission to invest and develop innovative snacking ventures that are good for people, kind to the planet, and are deliciously fun. So, hello, Gil.
Hi, good morning.
Morning. Yeah. So, as you are a specialist on snack futures, I would like to ask you, what is the snack futures and what was the reasoning for setting it up?
Sure. First of all, thank you for having me. It's great to join you all today. And I think, I think that the food industry and the snacking industry specifically are obviously going through a lot of change. The pace of innovation is much faster. The retail environment is changing. The consumer preferences are changing. And also there's a lot of new challenger brands. And I think with all these changes, we 3 years ago at Mondelez understood that although we have a great innovation process that fits our core categories, that we know how to innovate really well, and brands such as Milka and Oreo, et cetera, we probably need another approach to tackling some of these more fast-paced opportunities, especially in the well-being snacking space. And that's where we actually went ahead and created Snack Futures that has three different pillars, or I like to say it maybe has three different tools in our toolbox that we can use as a company. The first one is the corporate venture arm of the company. So we make early stage investments in startups in the well-being snacking space. And we also a year ago started investing in food tech technologies, but all of them have to be related one way or another to the broader snacking category. A lot of our investments are ones that we cooperate with the brands, and some of them, if we actually have a mutual interest at the end, they might become an M&A opportunity. A great example is Hugh Kitchen in the US. That it's a brand that's been growing a lot in the snacking space, healthy snacking. We invested there, and then 2 years later, we actually bought the brand. The second piece, which is very unique from Mondelez, is what we call invent, that we actually go ahead and incubate new businesses and brands for the company. So we identify spaces in well-being snacks. I'll give an example. For example, we identified that vegetable snacking is a very interesting space. So then we just went ahead and we built a business in the space of well-being snacks. We built a brand called Dirt Kitchen. We develop and run it the same way as an entrepreneur would do it. We do it in a very agile, quick way. Within less than a year from the day we kick it off, we'll be in the marketplace. We would test it for a few months in a few stores and online. Usually we test in LA. We call it transactional learning. And during that test, if the proposition meets our KPIs, later on we would scale it up. And that approach is very unique, and we do it off, I like to say we do it off the grid, separately from the company's resources, because a large company like Mondelez is very much built for scale, our manufacturing capabilities, distribution, R&D. And when you want to incubate a new brand in an emerging space, you actually need to do it in a similar way as an entrepreneur would do it, with a lot of outside partners and a very small, starting in small steps and learning and kind of constantly iterating and improving. And the third piece, which is our newest one, is it's basically our acceleration program. We call it CoLab. We had our first cohort last year, and we just announced our second one. So if there are any interested brands and in the audience, feel free to please apply. It's still open at the moment. And in CoLab, we actually bring around 9 to 12 different startups, early stage companies. At the moment, it's only US, but hopefully we'll open it up beyond that next year. And those companies come and partner with us. We have a whole program for them. We give them a lot of our resources and partners and the expertise they need to grow. There's no commitment for us to get any equity or for us to invest. It's part of our kind of collaboration in the ecosystem. So these are the three pillars of Snack Futures. And I think that each of them, in a way, helps us play a bigger role in some of these emerging spaces in snacking as a whole. And as I said, I see this as a separate, we are part of Mondelez, but we like to say we're an independent innovation and venture hub. So it's part of the mothership, but we run it slightly in a different way.
So as you have created those, pillars, the base stone of the Snack Futures, what were the challenges that you have faced on your path of creating such major and fast growing projects?
You know, I mean, as you know, as like everything, when you start a new approach, there's a lot of learnings in the process. I think some of our learnings and kind of some of the things that we had to improve as we go is, first of all, finding the right partners. The Snack Futures approach is very much based on collaborating with external parties, especially on the event side. As I said, we work with outside co-packers, outside R&D partners, outside distributors. So finding the right partners that actually can complement us and fit us culturally is a very important piece. I think the second piece is, you know, because our process is so iterative and so fast, it's a very different approach in how we, you know, when we do a new innovation on one of our big brands, let's say an Oreo, we would perfect it, or a Milka. We would do a lot of consumer research, and we would really at least do our best effort to bring it to perfection when we launch it. In Snack Futures, it's much more of an approach of an MVP, a minimal viable proposition, or I like to say MLP, which is a minimal lovable proposition. And with that, we try to bring a proposition that is good enough. It's not perfect. It's good enough. Of course, it meets all the important elements of safety and regulation. And of course, we'll always meet all of these elements. But it's good enough to move fast in the market, get feedback from consumers in a small scale, and then improve it. And that approach, for a large company like ours, is very different. And sometimes, you know, even for us, that a lot of us in the team, it's this very small team, a lot of us, we were experienced in the way Mondelez worked. We had to reteach ourselves how to work in a not necessarily perfect way, but it's much more about, we like to say it's much more about progress versus perfection. So I think that's a second learning. And I think the third one is, listen, when you innovate and you really push the boundaries, some of the things are going to work and some don't work. And I think that's, you know, I always like to say that if you're not failing as an innovator, you're not pushing hard enough. So I think that's also part of the game, I think. So those are some of the things that I believe we're learning as we're going.
Yeah, it is tough to stop being perfect when you're used to it. So
absolutely.
yeah.
Although perfection can be sometimes their worst enemy.
True. So how does your ecosystem of partners work in reality then?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, you know, when we set it up, we were looking for different partners in the culinary side of the product development, on distribution, on marketing and packaging, on co-packing and manufacturing. And I think we, like everything in life, you know, it's all based on relationships. So we had to create quite a different ecosystem than what we had before, because Mondelez, first of all, does a lot of these things in-house. So usually manufacturing, distribution would be done by us. And two, Mondelez does everything at a very large scale. So this is a different ecosystem. And I think the way we built it is we started building our network and reputation within the ecosystem, I would say, of more early stage emerging brands, because sometimes if I'm working on a Snack Futures new brand, I would like to take a design agency that is the same design agency that maybe is working with some of these emerging challenger brands, because that's the same approach we want to use here. So we did a lot through networking, building a relationship, speaking in events and conferences like these, being out there, speaking with a lot of different partners and having them giving us references. And what we did at the beginning, which I think was a very good decision, we used a lot of different partners. We would have on project A, we would use a set of 3-4 different partners, and in project B, we would use a completely different set of partners. And I think once you work with different ones, you learn, you know, who's working better with you, who, you know, we like to say which superpower every agency has or partner has. And then you say, you know, the next project you say, I want that superpower, and that's the agency who would do it. Because I think, or partner, because I think a lot of times when you talk with partners at the beginning, everybody tells you they can do everything. That's the nature of the beast. But I think we all as human beings usually have 1 or 2 superpowers we're very good at. So I think that's a place we invested a lot. And I would say that today, especially when we talk with other companies, we have a lot of times other peer companies reach out to us. I would say that one of the main pieces of our secret sauce that sets us apart is really that network of partners, I think, which we respect and we truly view them as partners of our successes. So that's a really important piece.
So you are the Avengers of the Mondelez then?
Avengers of Mondelez, yeah. Sometimes I even like to say we're the pirates of Mondelez, but you know, we're a lot of different things. But you know, at the end of the day, I mean, we all have the same goal: is to, you know, move the company forward and get amazing, you know, products for consumers, and obviously drive consumer satisfaction and revenues and growth for the company.
Then the snack futures concept is clear, and I would like to ask you more about the snack sector. So how genuinely important do you think, and you think as in general, as the concept of healthy eating when we come to the snack market?
Yeah, I think well, you know, we like to use the term well-being. Well-being snacks are definitely an important piece of snacking. And I think the way we like to look at the world is, you know, consumers have different needs. They have different needs of the day. They have different needs because of the occasion of you know, that they need to fulfill them. And a lot of times we all have needs that are around indulgence, which the current portfolio of Mondelez does a very good job. You come back from pre-COVID, you come back from work home and you want to unwind and you take a piece of chocolate and maybe a glass of wine or whatever that is. And that's a behavior that would exist and continue. And consumers love it and they need it. But in addition to that, obviously, well-being snacks that, you know, have functional benefits or clean label is a very, very big trend, and it would continue. And there's going to be a role for both. In snack futures, we are obsessed about focusing on well-being snacks. And each of our snacks has a significant aspect of that. We, as I mentioned before, we have Dirt Kitchen, which is based on vegetables, which we think is a really interesting space. We have another proposition that is called Milligram, that is actually nut butters that are based on, that have a functional mushrooms as a key ingredient in them, which is a very unique, it's the first nut butters that actually use functional mushrooms and shiitake and maitake and cordyceps and lion's mane in them, and they taste great. So I think that element is very, very important, and also with the ingredients we choose. And I think the belief is that trend would continue. I mean, I think we even, you know, that whole space, even long term, that we like to call ready to eat care, which is about, in a way, kind of blurring the lines between food and functional food and supplements, is a very interesting space. And consumers are looking, you know, for food, you know, that would help make them feel a bit more relaxed, sleep better, you know, more energy. So those are definitely interesting spaces. And, you know, with some of our propositions in snack futures, we clearly try to target them. Also, gut health is a huge, you know, the gut microbiome and gut health is a huge space. So yeah, definitely we're very excited about those spaces.
So it's almost like food nutrition. That is very interesting. Yeah, well, I'm getting hungry. So then the question would rather be then, how do you keep up with the idea of sustainability in your food innovation framework? Because I cannot be talking about snacks anymore. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, sustainability is huge. Obviously, it's been a huge topic for a while. I think COVID and, you know, everything going around us in the world, as we know on a daily basis, it's one of the biggest topics that, you know, is top of mind for consumers and top of mind for us. So, first of all, we as a company in Mondelez have a lot of commitments around sustainability as a company. Getting all our packaging by 2025 to be fully recyclable, sourcing all our cocoa in the future from our Cocoa Life program that really supports farmers, smallholder farmers in Africa, and etc. Within Snack Futures, because we are building businesses from the bottoms up, we make sure we design them based on the, you know, the most advanced criteria around sustainability that we have in our company and beyond. So we obviously make sure that our packaging is recyclable. We have some of our propositions that are really focused on sustainability. So one of our propositions is a brand we launched in France as a test market called Nokoi. And it's actually the first carbon neutral snack. It's a cracker that we actually worked on creating the whole value chain that it's carbon neutral. We actually already launched it a year and a half ago I would say before it was sexy to talk about carbon neutral. So now everybody talks about it, but I think we were a bit ahead of our time. On Dirt Kitchen, we actually, one of the propositions we launched we are using upcycled vegetables that would have gone to waste. We're partnering with a startup in the US that helps us source them. It's very hard, and to verify that's the case, that it would have gone to waste. And actually then we make out of them delicious vegetable snacks. We have also a third proposition called Kapow, that actually, I don't know if you know, when you make chocolate, actually you only use 10% of the cacao pod. The rest is discarded and basically thrown away. But there's so much nutrients in those in the whole pod. So with Kapow, we actually work with our supply chain partners and sourcing partners to use all the aspects of the cacao pod for the products of Kapow. So these are some of the examples. So I think we are definitely in the frontier of sustainability, and we would continue because we think it's such a big topic. We also, by the way, in the US, we were the first large food company through Snack Futures to join the Upcycled Food Association. And that's a really interesting space because I think this whole topic of upcycling ingredients and using waste streams from the food industry is a fascinating area, both from a sustainability perspective and I think even from the long term, from even just accessible nutrition for consumers. If we can get this to scale, it can actually be very affordable nutrition to consumers. So definitely different, very interesting space.
Thank you. I hope that your market will only going to grow and eventually it will come to Prague as well, because it's very curious to try.
Sure.
So more of a personal question. What is your perspective or perspectives for the next, let's say, 5 years for the food innovation in the snacks sector?
Yeah, I think first of all, for those of us that are, working in the food industry and involved in the food industry, I always like to say that I think it's the most exciting time in history to be in the food industry. There's so much change going on so quickly. It's an industry that is now going through a complete change with new technologies and capabilities and a lot of startups and entrepreneurs, and I think it's a great thing. And then large companies like us are also participating in that ecosystem in some of our peer companies. So I think it's a very exciting time. I think some of the themes we've spoken about, we spoke about sustainability is a huge topic. I think the whole topic of ready-to-eat care or food as medicine is a big topic that would continue. I think there is the whole topic around transparency of the value chain. So consumers want to know today what they're eating. How did their food go through the supply chain? Who is the farmer at the beginning? Is that farmer treated well? Is that really sure that there's no child labor there? So I think that aspect is very, very interesting. You're seeing some new technologies in blockchain, et cetera, kind of helping kind of track that value chain. Another space that is, very, very interesting, is the whole topic of gut health and microbiome that I think there's a lot of, it's a new topic that, is still being just investigated, but I think we're seeing a lot of new companies popping up in that space and helping us understand more our gut and then what is the right diet for us. And I think that whole topic in general of personalized nutrition is just fascinating because we all know it from the medicine world of personalized medicine and precision medicine and diagnostics, but I think you're seeing some of those aspects moving into food. And I would say in general, I'm a big believer that we're going to see more and more technologies and know-how and entrepreneurs coming from other disciplines into food. So from biotech, from material sciences, from AI and big data. So I think that's going to be part of the revolution we're seeing in the industry. So, definitely a very, very exciting time to be in the industry.
Well, that's good. Yeah, people will always eat.
That's always. And drink.
Yeah, so it was very insightful. Thank you so much. Definitely go grab some Mandela snack. And yeah, thank you for your time. It was very interesting to hear it straight away from the Global Innovation Director for the Snack Futures, Gil Horsky. Once again, thank you so much for talking to us. Yeah,
sure.
I thought,
Thank you. No, I'm here. Thank you for having me. That's great. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you. So have a great day.
Great. Thank you. Bye.